take over, and also got a wealth of experience. So she's joined Colorado University as a postdoctoral associate back in this year, actually. She's currently a managing editor for the online journal CourseSource, and is also working on projects to help develop various modules for scientific teaching. And it's going to give us a bit of a rundown afterwards. With that, I'd like to leave that with a huge thank you for Jenny and Sharleen for coming and sharing their information with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks all of you for coming. As was just mentioned, unfortunately, I cannot stay very long because I have to go teach my genetics class, but I will get us just started here and tell you a little bit about CourseSource, and then Sharleen will do much more fun things with you after that. So for those of you who don't know much about CourseSource, it's an evidence-based teaching resource guide in which we publish lots of different kinds of articles and lots of different types of biology. We have a big team of people, of course editors and senior editors and an advisory board and lots of reviewers and users. And so we are always looking for people to contribute more articles. And we're also really excited to have people use the articles. So I will show you a little bit about how to navigate on the website. So the website address is down here at the bottom, CourseSource.org, and we very recently moved over to be hosted by Cubes, which is great because that helped improve our website, and the collaboration with them has been fruitful in many ways. So if you go to the website, you will see that there are a variety of things you can click on. I'm going to focus on the courses. So we have everything divided into subdisciplines. You can see here anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, molecular biology, whatever, as you go down the list. We also have professional development articles and science process skills articles. And new to the site are going to be physics articles, because we recently got a new editor to help with the physics side of things, and a donation from Carl Lyman to support branching into physics. So if you go to the site and click on the courses, you'll see different kinds of courses. So for example, let's just say we wanted to look at something about microbiology. So if we go to the microbiology tag, we'll see that there is a framework, a learning framework for microbiology. And most, but not all, of the courses have a learning framework. Where they have a learning framework, it was developed in collaboration with the society. So in this case, the microbiology learning framework was developed with ASM, and often was contributed to by some of the course editors. So the course editors are the ones who make sure that the articles that are submitted look good. They get the reviewers review the articles, and eventually we end up with something that hopefully is useful to our audiences. If you want to look at the framework in more detail, you can click on it, and what you'll see is that there are different sort of questions that make up the framework, and then specific learning objectives that you can also click on, highlighted here in red. I don't have them called up because the list gets long. And then for each of those like subdivisions of the course, you then will see that there are articles listed to the right of those different goals. That's one way that you can look for articles and find things that might be interesting for you. Another way that you can do it is to actually just search by entering in a keyword or a type of course that you might be teaching, and the site will then return to you all kinds of information. So you have a couple different ways of sort of navigating through the website in order to find the things that you might be interested in. There are 5 types of articles in CourseSource. Most people use the first one, which is the lesson. And the lessons are field-tested classroom activities or laboratory activities. Because they've been field-tested, you get a little bit of information about how successful they are or have been, and you get very detailed notes on how to adapt the exercise for your own teaching scenario. And they can range from, a single activity or a single exercise to several exercises on a particular topic or several different activities on a particular topic. So they can be either relatively short or quite comprehensive, depending on the author who's decided to either write something really big or really small. In addition to the lessons, which again are probably the ones that are used the most commonly, there are also some science behind the lesson articles. And for these, this accompanies a lesson. So there'll be a lesson on a field-tested classroom activity, and then there'll be a publication that's all about the science. So if you're somebody who's not familiar with that topic, you could learn a little bit about the topic and then be ready to teach the lesson. We also have teaching tools and strategies articles that are more about a topic, like, for example, using clickers or cures or something like that. So strategies that are broad descriptions of different kinds of like different ways to implement a particular strategy. The essays topic is kind of similar to the teaching tools and strategies, but it sometimes focuses in on a particular challenge or something like that that might be of interest to the community. And then lastly, we have some reviews. So you can also search for individual kinds of articles in CourseSource. If you want to search for a science behind the lesson, you can do that, or you can search for teaching tools, or you can search for lessons. So all of those are possible within the framework of the website because there's a good search engine that's associated with the website. We're pretty excited about the growth of CourseSource. We started back in 2014 with just a few publications, but sorry, I need to show you this. The number of accepted articles pretty low for the first couple years. And then we started to see a real increase in 2019 and through the pandemic. Going up rapidly. We don't have final numbers for 2021, but that was our estimated numbers. So you can see that we're now really fleshing out the website. So there's lots of lessons there for people to choose from. We also have a huge increase in the number of visitors to the CourseSource site. Again, you can see a really big jump in 2020, most likely because of the dire need for resources when we all had to teach online for a while. We have articles that are specifically for online teaching, and we also have articles that are for more traditional types of teaching, as well as having hybrid articles. We have pretty much everything you can imagine. And many times when people submit an article, they will include ideas on how to adapt it for online teaching if it's an activity intended for classroom teaching. And sometimes you also see vice versa. So an article for online teaching that also has some tools and tips, strategies for converting it to a in-class activity. So there's lots of stuff there to explore and try your hand at. To date, we have over 200 and something CourseSource articles. The slide's a little bit old. Covering 617 authors and 237 institutions. So you can see that we have a pretty wide authorship, which is really exciting. And like I said at the beginning, we hope that if you have any interest in contributing to CourseSource, that you'll reach out. Sharleen and I are both always happy to take a look at your article ahead of time and tell you whether it's the right fit for the journal, or even if you want to talk about ideas before you start writing your article, we're open to that as well. If you want to access all of the great resources that are embedded within our lessons, you actually have to have a CourseSource account or a CUBES account. And that is to basically prevent people from just randomly downloading stuff that could be like students who are gaining access to stuff we don't want them to have access to. So you do need to sign up, which you can do from the About page. There, down at the very bottom, there is a little link that says Join Now. And then once you've created a free account, then you can just log in and you can access not only all the articles, but all of the supplementary materials, which often include answer keys and instructions for running the activities in class or in lab. Okay, just wanted to say a little bit about what is included in a lesson, just so you can see that it is really designed to be easily adaptable. All lessons have an introduction, that tells you a little bit about the lesson. All of them address the 3 scientific teaching themes of active learning, assessment, and inclusive teaching. All of the lessons have a plan, so a very clear, hopefully easy to replicate way of running through their activity. Then the supporting materials that I've also already referred to that include slides, worksheets, quiz questions, whatever resources the authors think are necessary. And then a teaching discussion at the end, which tells you a little bit about how they've implemented it and how successful it was. So if you don't already know, and you're interested in publishing in CourseSource, there are a lot of benefits to being part of our community. Even if you never publish in CourseSource, hopefully you'll find benefits in terms of using the materials. But if you do publish in CourseSource, you can list your articles on your CV. You can use them as evidence of scholarship, so they can be relevant for promotion and tenure, or whatever you might be doing, whatever line of work you're in. We can also track the number of views and downloads. So if you need that kind of information, we can get it for you. And as I already mentioned, CourseSource articles can be partnered with actual research articles. And we have a couple of examples of that in our database. So finally, I wanted to just make a really quick plug that we had a in-person writing studio right before the SABRE meeting this summer. And this is a picture of all the participants and the organizers. From now on, we won't be holding too many in-person writing opportunities, although we are planning to have one at SABRE West if you're planning on going that direction out to California in January. But we are shifting to mostly online opportunities for learning about writing a CourseSource article. So if you're interested in that, we're actually going to be running one this fall. And technically the application is closed, but we have a few spots left. So if you're really interested in joining this faculty mentoring network in which you will actually write a CourseSource article. If you're interested, you should capture that link right there and sign up as quick as you can, because like I said, we have a few spots left, but we're starting that workshop really soon. So that was my really fast message. I am sorry that I don't have time to stick around for too long, but it's nice to see some familiar faces here. And I am going to turn it over to Sharleen, who will now be able to answer more questions for you and also lead you in some exploration activities. Sharleen, are you ready to take over?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Jenny, for presenting on that. Before we get started, does anyone have any questions for either Jenny or myself?
Can you post that link in chat?
Yeah, sorry about that. I realized after the fact that I should have made that link live. Sharleen, are you able to grab that link from, or shall I put it up again and grab it myself?
I think I can grab it.
Okay. All right. I will let you do that then, since I really have to go. But if anybody has more questions for me, you can just email me as well. And I'm sure that I can get back to you pretty quickly. Here's my email address in the chat. So enjoy the rest of the hour, and I hope to see you all again soon.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jenny.
Bye-bye.
Welcome, Sharleen.
All right. Any other questions before we move on to the next segment?
Looks like we're good.
Okay, perfect. I like to implement wait time, so it always drags out and is so uncomfortably long, but my personal philosophy. Okay, so we're going to go into breakout rooms, and we're actually going to explore the website together to do some fun little activities and report back. So I have some prompts that I'll put in the chat, but first of all, I'll put in the link for the CourseSource website if you don't already have this pulled up on your computer. So what we'd like to do is give y'all a chance to explore the website a little bit. And for our first breakout room activity, we'd like you to search online for some articles of interest. And in your breakout rooms, you may be with some people who are similar disciplinary interests or maybe differing. So in your breakout rooms, just head on in there and search for some articles that you could see, some lesson articles that you could see implementing or adapting for your classroom. And then I have an and/or for also reporting on an article that you find surprising or interesting. So I'm going to let Neil put y'all into some breakout rooms, and I'll put the activity in the chat. So when you go into your breakout rooms, make sure you introduce yourselves to each other and choose a reporter. And sorry, Neil, are you saying something to me?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Did you want that just for 5 minutes then?
So let's do, I had planned around 10 to 15 minutes. So maybe we can try for 15.
There we go. Rose, your rooms are open. Wait and see which ones have got the least amount of people in and go and join. Okay.
Room 3 is very small. Oh, good. She went in there. Did I miss you joining, Keenan and Stephen?
Nope.
Okay. Someone joined late, then I was able to put them in a breakout room, but I don't think I saw you joining in after.
All right, well, welcome back, everyone. I hope you all had nice discussions and got to browse around on the website. I was wondering if maybe we could hear some rooms tell us about kind of what they found. I can post the prompts again in the chat in case you've already lost them. But anything you found that you might implement in your classroom or anything you found that was surprising or interesting? Maybe we can hear from the first breakout room if you remember your breakout room numbers.
I think we were number 1. So after introducing ourselves, we realized we had a lot of intro bio and just one person teaching upper level, but we also had a physics professor, and we did search and we haven't found anything for physics at this point, but I guess it's coming. Intro bio and genetics, where we couldn't figure out a consensus really on what to focus on, but we started to go and clicked on search for keywords. something that caught our attention was authentic barcoding found, to find sequence and things like that. But we ended up finding out that it was a laboratory activity. Then we went around and looked for more of a classroom activity and searched using intro level, undergraduate level activities. And we found an escape room, escape Zoom, and I don't know, I didn't have a chance. I was just typing, what people were saying. I didn't look at it. Maybe Erica can say a few words on that one. She's the one that found it. We also found building a model of tumorigenesis that sounded interesting. So what we ended up finding also role playing for smaller classroom, activities for bigger classroom. So we were a little overwhelmed, but I think if everybody ends up searching on their own, they can find something to their taste. Surprised by the creativity and the variety. That's what because I've never been on the website before, and I'm not sure any in the room had a chance to look at activities prior to this meeting. So a little bit overwhelming, but it's nice and surprising. There's a lot of tools available. That's the report for our room.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing, Catherine. Yeah, there's a lot to be found on the website. And on the left-hand side, when you're browsing, I don't know if everyone looked through all those filters, but you can search by a lot of different elements. So you can search by vision and change, core competencies. You can search by the lesson length. If there's a certain course or learning goals, if a course has an associated society with learning goals, you can search by that society's learning goals. So there's quite a variety of lessons depending on what your needs are. You can maybe find something very specific and tailored for that need.
Erica, you had something else to add? Sorry I'm not sure I reported accurately.
No, I think you did a fine job. I like the fact that it seemed really interesting at a quick glance for students, that it was different and fun and was serving as a review from what I can remember. So I thought that was cool.
Awesome. Anything from breakout room number 2 you'd like to share?
Can you tell us who was in breakout 2?
I think it was us, Karen.
I thought so. So we introduced ourselves kind of too long, but I did, and we had some technical issues, and so we didn't get back together after we searched, but I was able to find an article that I'd talked to a colleague about before that hadn't been published till fairly recently. So I was pleased to follow up on that. It was just, I actually ended up browsing. So I kind of narrowed it down, but when I kind of hit between 70 and 0, and 70 is too many, but I started browsing and found one that I actually had been meaning to look up. So some serendipities involved.
Sounds great. Thank you for sharing. Breakout room number 2. Number 3, was that us, Neil?
Yep, that was us. Keenan or Stephen, do you want to share? Or
I can share. I thought that the filters were really helpful. I had mentioned that I was interested in stuff related to energy, and that was like one of the filters under the vision and change core concepts, which was cool to be able to whittle down the number of potential articles.
And for me, the thing that I really liked about this is that y'all cover topics that aren't commonly covered in OER sources, which for someone who tries to use OER in his courses has driven me insane over the last 4 years. So y'all have a lot of topics that I've been looking for, and I'm so thankful that not only is it active learning, but it's open access. So the diversity of topics was what really got me.
Yeah, we're growing every day. So if you have a lesson that you'd like to submit, please send it our way. We're also always looking for reviewers and editors. All you have to do is sign up on the Cubes, as Jenny said. You can also make an account with the our eJournal Press is the submission site. So and we have a really great review process with lots of feedback. Carlos is one of our editors, as someone mentioned in the chat earlier. So always looking for publications that will help other scholars and other educators. And we had, I think we had breakout room number 4. I think we had 4 total. So we'll hear from number 4.
So I'll go ahead. That was us. And we spent a long time introducing ourselves and talking about the various courses that we teach. And there was lots of diversity, both in kind of what we teach, but also the sizes. So for example, I was really excited that there are filters that you can filter out CourseSource stuff for really large classes, because I teach really big introductory courses. So I was excited to be able to kind of wade through everything and find maybe more applicable CourseSource things that way.
Great, thank you for sharing.
I have a question actually about creating the account for free. That sounds like students may be able to access it, or what do you do after you request an account?
That's a good question. I'm actually not quite sure. I'm not sure if there's actually a particular filter that prevents students from being able to make accounts. We do have, when you submit an article, if you have like quizzes or tests, questions that you want to submit, you can submit them, or you can put a note in the text that you have those available and to please email if you'd like access to those materials. I don't think there's necessarily a barrier to prevent students from making an account, but I haven't heard any feedback from anyone that students were searching and finding the quiz questions online.
So when you put in your information, your account is made and ready to use, right? Has anyone just made an account and that was the case?
Yeah, I just did. And I will say it did ask me what my role was. And so it asks you if you're a faculty member or a graduate student or that sort of thing. So if people are honest when they sign up, then maybe it filters what you can access. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'll look into that more deeply. I just got into this role about a month ago, so I'm still learning all the ropes. But certainly, if you're concerned about submitting an article that has test questions with answers, you don't have to submit the answers. Okay, so we'll jump into our second activity with the 15 minutes we have left. This one will be a little bit shorter. So we'll go back into our breakout rooms, and this time, I'm sure most of you were kind of looking at the lessons. As Jenny said, we have a couple different article types. And so in this next activity, I'd like y'all to just kind of browse through the different article types that we have. And then if we have time afterwards to report back on which article type that you found the most interesting or that you could see yourself submitting for. So Neil, if you could reopen the rooms, and maybe we'll take about 7 minutes in our rooms, and then we'll come back here and debrief. That's a good question. I'm not too sure. We have a little bit of a backlog right now. My goal is to get an article from submission to decision in 2 or 3 months. That's my goal, is it to be less than that. But I'm not entirely sure what's realistic since I just got into this role. So I guess we'll find out, but I'm on top of it. Okay, I hope everyone had nice conversations in their breakout rooms. We only have just a few minutes left. Was there anything interesting that y'all discussed that you'd like to share out to the group?
I think we might have been fairly typical in that we were looking at the lessons first and foremost, because those were what we would be directly implementing once we feel like, oh, yeah, that's right, I was going to change this lesson. Let me see if there is something. But then second to that, I think the background portion where it talks about an already published lesson, I really want to go explore those, because that would be very useful to just have this neat overview and maybe even something I could take and offer to students regardless of the lesson.
That I think was kind of, our room also had talked about lessons kind of being the biggest interest. If you go to the For Authors page, if you're interested in submitting an article, the breakdown of all the article types are there, and on the right-hand side are templates. So when you're ready to submit, you can populate the template and then put that into the submission site. We have the science behind the lesson that goes with lessons if something is kind of really complicated. So that one you won't see standalone, but the other ones can be standalone articles. We had also talked about in our room teaching tools and strategies as being an article of interest.
I found some of the essays really interesting. It was it's a little harder to find something in, that you're going for, but if you just browse through them, like I found one that was about writing and I was really intrigued by it. So.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing. We're starting to see some more articles come in that are kind of a bit more general. So typically, as you saw, like in the course areas, whenever you submit an article, it'll be, microbiology or astronomy, intro bio. And we're starting to see some more articles that are a bit more general that could be applicable across courses. So be on the lookout for those. They might be under the science process skills right now. But I think probably writing is under science process skills, which I'm sure everyone here knows our students definitely need help in that area, reading and writing.
Always, right? I think we also mentioned, I mean, personally, I like that there was the flow diagrams for protocols and such, and how to use those for teaching for students. I think we'd coincidentally just talked about that at lab meeting this morning. So I think that's a good kind of resource that you can use. I think it kind of broadens the perspective of what could be appropriate for a CourseSource submission.
Thank you. Lots to, as you guys saw, lots to see and browse. So thank you all for taking the time to do that today with us. I hope you had fun and kind of got your feet wet into what's out there and are interested in possibly submitting in the future. That's all I had for today. So unless there was more questions, I did want to, if anyone from physics is still here, I did want to mention that that it is growing right now, and we don't have any articles right now, but some are in the submission process. So if you are interested in physics or have colleagues that are interested in publishing a physics cure or a lesson, please encourage them to sign up for CourseSource, submit their articles, become a reviewer. We'd love to have you. So be on the lookout for more articles in the future, including anyone here. You might see your own article or colleague's article in there soon.
Cool. Thank you so much, Sharleen. We really appreciate you taking the time to come and give us a talk. For those of you who are also interested, we've also got Jenny Monson giving, I think, a series of talks, right? From the 20, let me get the dates right, 20th and 27th? No, 23rd and 30th. Of course, I'd get it wrong. So there's 2 sessions then, and I forget what the title of the sessions were, but
I just popped it in. Sorry, I hit return prematurely there.
there we go. Redesign
Earlier.
courses to build.
Yep, so that was part 1. So on the 23rd, Jenny and her team will be doing redesigning courses to build systems thinking skills, conceptual modeling, so concept maps to connect ideas in biology. And then part 2 on the 30th is using the framework to organize biology curricula. So looking forward to people coming. I'm particularly looking forward to hearing more about that one. So hope everyone can come back.
Cool. Thank you. In that case, thank you very much, everyone. Really appreciate it.